everyone, it's Kellen from RacerX again, back again with another race examination video from the Spring Creek National, where we're going to start out by talking about pretty much the biggest talking point from Spring Creek, and that is whether or not Zach Osborne should have pitted for a new front tire late in the second moto when it went flat. Now, Osborne initially felt the flat tire happening, I believe, on lap 8 of the race, and we can look at the lap times to suggest that, as Osborne was running somewhere in the area of the 207, 208 range lap times, similar to what Cianciarulo was doing out front. Then suddenly he ran a 2:16.8, and I think that after he ran that lap time, that is when he went by the mechanics area, pointed down at his front tire, and alerted the mechanics to the problem. So what I wanted to break down in this situation was when and if Osborne did come in and decide to make a pit stop, would it have been the most beneficial, and would it actually have made a difference in the end result after all? Now, there is a little bit of prior history here with the Rockstar Energy Husqvarna team, as they had to change a front tire for Zach Osborne after a first turn crash at Detroit in 2017. Jason Anderson had some spokes break at the first turn of the 2018 Salt Lake City Supercross, and he had to come in and get a tire change as well. So same mechanics, similar crews working to get these tire changes done, and I'm just going to quickly show you guys this of them getting the bike on the stand. The time will start, it'll go to the end. So as you can see, the Osborne front tire change was 1 minute 24 seconds. The Anderson front tire change 1 minute 44 seconds. We'll just combine that together, get an average time of a 1 minute 34 second front tire change, and we'll extrapolate that out to see whether or not Osborne coming in to get a fresh front tire would have actually mattered. Now, of course, there's going to be a lot of assumptions here, because this assumes that they get the tire change done quickly, and it assumes a couple things along the lines of Osborne going out there and running similar lap times to that of which he already was. The 207s, the 208s, matching similarly to what Adam Cianciarulo was doing out front. So in the end, Osborne ended up finishing 2 minutes 21 seconds behind Adam Cianciarulo. But at the time of the front tire issue, he had actually been only 14 seconds down of Cianciarulo. By the time he came around next time by, he was 23 seconds down of Cianciarulo and pointed down at the bike. At that time, obviously, he wasn't going to come in and get a front tire change as quickly as possible, because the mechanics didn't know what the issue was. So he was alerting them at that time. But had he come in and had the mechanics been prepared, he would have come out 1 minute 57 seconds behind Cianciarulo, and had he managed that gap to a similar effect, he would have ended up finishing P10 in the race. A lap later, once he had alerted the mechanics, the mechanics had time then to set up, get the front tire ready, and the stand and everything all prepared. If Osborne had come in at that point, he was 35 seconds down of Cianciarulo out front. He would have come out about 2 minutes and 9 seconds behind Cianciarulo, and again, had he been able to keep that gap until the end of the moto, he would have been able to finish in P12. Now, where this ends, though, is if he waited one extra lap than that. So there is the initial lap that he points down the bike and shows the front tire problem. The next lap he comes by, if he comes in then, he could still have had a better total race time. After that, the numbers are too high. If he comes in the next lap, he was now 54 seconds down, running worse lap times as it was getting to be a bit of a worse problem. He now would have been 2 minutes and 28 seconds behind Cianciarulo and would have finished exactly P16, which is what he ended up finishing in the race. Any later than that, the tire change being a minute 34 second range area tire change, going out and running the same pace that he was, he would have actually been passed by way more riders than he ended up getting passed by. He would have to pass them back to get into those positions. And more crucially, if he waited until that third lap that we're talking about, he would have also been lapped by Adam Cianciarulo, and then it becomes a cat and mouse of, well, he can't unlap himself even if he is going faster, and Cianciarulo was in a battle with Baggett, so on and so forth. So that's just how the math kind of checks out. Those first 2 laps, had he come in, it might have actually made a difference. He might have actually gotten a better result, but you never know. The tire change could have actually gotten a lot more worse than it ended up, being a 134 maybe, but it could have been a 2 minute, a 3 minute tire change, or it could have been faster and it could have been better. But in the end, it seems as though Osborne probably made the right decision, trying to figure out how to ride the bike with that flat front tire, staying out there, and ultimately coming home 16th and limiting the damage to some extent on his title hopes. I want to remind everybody that this video is presented by Onyx Off-Road. Nowhere to go with the #1 off-road GPS app. Access 400,000 plus miles of trails and roads, open dates, and public lands. Download the Onyx Off-Road app today. So just the last couple of things I wanted to check out from Spring Creek, because the Osborne thing was the thing I wanted to highlight the most, but this Justin Barcia, Joey Savatgy contact / crash in the first moto was a very strange one, because you don't normally see people coming from the outside, and the rider on the inside when someone makes contact is the one that ends up going down. But I guess this is the way it goes sometimes. What actually ended up happening here is that Savatgy said he lost his rear brake later in the moto and couldn't quite get stopped for the corner, so he was trying not to hit Barcia, and I think that kind of repositioned his body in a different angle and sent him into a spot where he eventually fell to the ground there, but Barcia laughed it off in the press conference and said they both talked about it afterwards as well. Here's a moment that Jeremy Martin had coming down Mount Martin that I wanted to highlight, just to show the sheer strength it takes sometimes when things are slightly going awry here, as he gets a weird little kick off of this roller. Look at how far the bike's trying to go out, and he just uses his hips, his lower body, to pull the bike back underneath of him. That kind of stuff right there is so small you don't even notice it sometimes during the race, but these guys are so good at correcting little minute mistakes like that and preventing some serious crashes from happening. Here is an instance between Jeremy Martin, though, and RJ Hampshire that happened in practice on this triple step-up right before the finish line jump, and Hampshire ended up going down. Hampshire actually, after the first moto, said that he injured his hip in this crash. Nothing serious seems to be the problem, but something to maybe keep an eye out for Hampshire moving into WW Ranch. And then just wanted to talk about this big old crash that Tyler Bowers had. Henry Miller had just had a crash in that same section only a few minutes prior, and then Bowers has a big swap to endo / gets tackled by the bike, and sometimes you're the bull, sometimes you're the horns. I guess in this situation, it's Bowers that is the one that gets the horns, and not quite the bull in this situation, as he goes over the bars and then just adds injury to insult, I guess, in the crash, as the tire just plants on his head, neck area. But the Bear is good to go for this weekend at WW Ranch as we head into round 7 of the Lucas Oil Pro Motocross Championship.